Hey, you guys, I want to talk about the Jewish state tonight. I know that I'm going to be criticized by some who may think that I'm not entitled to making such comments because I'm not Jewish. Or because I lack the knowledge of the conflict or the cause. And I'm here to tell you that since my youth, I have witnessed war in my country. It was called the Just Cause in Panama. And this was in 1989. And it was to get Noriega, a military leader, out of power and give the Panamanian civilian people, the civilian government, back their government, for a lack of a better term. Because Noriega was a corrupt leader. Some say that our very own American CIA was supporting Noriega in ways that were known only to military intelligence personnel. Whether this is true or not, it's irrelevant anymore, because Noriega was taken out, but the way that he was taken out of power was in itself not the best way, because this was a planned and orchestrated war that killed and injured civilians who were innocent. And to me, that was a very hasty, even though it was planned and orchestrated, it was a very hasty and, in a way, sloppy manner of taking somebody out of power, quote unquote. Another point of view is that American military or American government has the habit of putting certain people in leadership only to tear them down later on, by funding them with weapons and support, only to later take them out. This is other people's opinions, and you're going to have all kinds of opinions. I'm not anti-military because, for one, I was a military dependent. I was Army brat. I joined the service, the Air Force, was honorably discharged, and I enjoyed what I learned in the military, which was to save lives. I considered going into the Army to do what my stepfather did in military intelligence, because I found that it was interesting. I didn't think it would be challenging. I thought that it would be the ideal job for me because of my language skills, and also my patience and my friendly, neutral attitude. I was encouraged to go in the Air Force, according to my stepfather, because, quote unquote, they were more family oriented. And also because he said that military intelligence, it was just a tough, field, that I would find it much more pleasant in the Air Force, that they wouldn't cut my hair, um, for those reasons. But to me, it wasn't enough. He also suggested that I go in the medical field, in the nursing field, because he thought that I had the patience required for such field. And I thought, well, if I have patience, I could do what you do, with my patience and my language skills. And I had been asked by my stepfather to write a letter, to translate a letter for another officer in a Latin American military. So I felt that the letter was, while I was translating, I thought that it was really friendly. And I thought that that would be something that I would enjoy doing. But anyway, I was not frustrated about it in the least. I reached out to our government and addressed the Pentagon as well, because of what I was enduring on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. And ironically, after having served the Air Force and having become a mother, I myself felt that my family unit was being attacked, that my son was taken from me, and that I was being held back and being denied my rights to work, the right job for the right amount, and to have the freedom to move, to pursue whatever my heart desired, which was to continue my education. The desire of my heart was not to stay on the Gulf Coast and whore around. I assure you that. So I reached out to the White House in a lengthy letters addressing these issues. I was frustrated by then. I was going to the gym and losing a lot of weight, and that may have confused some people, or they may have seen that as an opportunity to take advantage of a single young woman who's needing everything. And believe in me, this world is still male dominated, and because it's male dominated, most men, as much as they would like to think that they think with the head on the top of their head, that's not the case. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the human exploitation, and we wouldn't have child trafficking, child pornography, and all kinds of exploitation, oppression, and slavery of women and children. So this is what I call the PP lesson. With all due respect, it is PP for past present communication. It's PP for Pemberton psychology, because Dr. Pemberton, William Pemberton, thought that free flow or circulation of information, and I added true information, is the solution to the problem, and I added the problems that we create, we as in West and East. Dr. Pemberton thought that it was not a good idea to bring up God in discussions seeking peace with the Middle East, because he said that he thought religion was always a deep or a root cause of war. And although I agree with Dr. Pemberton's views, I also agree that we need to remind people that they have their right, because we have rights, and they have their rights to their right religion that is right for them, according to their language and their culture and their books that God has given us. Because what is truth? It's a matter of our perspective, our angle, right angle. And everybody has rights. This is my right, literally, to believe this way, because this is my right that I'm seeing from my angle, my perspective. And it has to do with nature and nurture. So if you were raised Jewish, what type of Jewish? There's so many different types of Jews. If you were raised Christian, what type of Christian? There are so many sub-religions within Christianity. A great example of war within religion, within the same Christianity, is the Irish war between the Catholics and the Protestants. And then you'll have the Muslims with the different points of view, the radical Muslims and the non-radical Muslims. But I want to tell you that whether you're a radical or not, whether you're a Catholic or not, and whether you're an Orthodox Jew or not, that God loves all His children. And if you observe children, for those of you who are in the field of psychology and believe that I am a patient, yes, I am a patient provider. I have been most patient with y'all because you have labeled me mentally unstable, because the right is wrong and the wrong is right. And we are being exploited as patients. So if I'm not a provider, but instead I am a patient, that gives you an advantage over me to further exploit me. And I believe in studies. I believe in studying and continuing our education and teaching one another and learning from one another. But I also believe that we need to have permission. So ethical studies is different than just studies. People need to know the risks, the benefits. People need to be compensated. People need to know what they're doing, with whom, and for what, when, and where. So, when you acquire permission and you discuss compensation from an adult that is capable of making their own decisions, not adults making decisions for their children. Because when adults make decisions for their children, this can go into unethical behavior as well. Because, for example, Making a decision for your child to be circumcised is a violation of that child's rights. Making a decision for a child to pierce their ears, that's a violation against that child's rights. Because if it's not good to circumcise girls, why is it good to circumcise boys? If it is not good to pierce the boy's ears, why is it good to pierce the girl's ears? Children need to be able to make these decisions when they're old enough to make these decisions, if they need it. Circumcision does not have health benefits. Back in the days, it was necessary for cleanliness purposes, because the foreskin was allowing things to grow underneath the skin. Back in the days when soap and water was not readily available. But it had to be done by a special person, by a person with clean hands, and it had to be done on a specific day, which was on the 8th day. And there was a reason for that, because the infant now had acquired some immunity of its own. It wasn't a 2-day-old infant like they do it here in the West, so hastily, only for financial gain from insurance companies. So it's unethical. It's unethical to perform surgery on minor children without their knowledge or permission, without their consent, on their skin, which is their God-given body. And so that's an example. Another example is when DHR gets involved in these cases, picking up children, transferring them to and from, the children having all kinds of psychological, sociological, medical experimentation, testing, studying of the children, because they're in quote-unquote custody of the state or nations. This is called human trafficking. And this is done without the children's knowledge or permission. And even if there are adult signatures, it may have been acquired in an unethical, dishonest manner. Because paperwork goes missing, paperwork is added, things are changed out of order. So we cannot trust what we see. I'm here to remind you that the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims are one humanity here on earth. And regardless of your religion, with your sub-religions, is not the solution. It is your right. Literally your God-given right, with your God-given freedom to choose your religion, but it is not an excuse for you to go to war with one another, because that's not in the books. If God has given you a right religion for you, be happy. Because faith is not religion, and religion is not faith. Faith is above religion, and God is above our faith. And God is above and within. God is with you. Muslim, Christian, Jew. He is within you. He is for you. He is before you, as in front of you, face to face. Present, gift, today. He is before you, as in ahead of you, as in the future. Ahead. Within. You are the head of your own body. You are capable. And these two things are connected, and heaven and earth are connected. Mind over matter, in that order. Heaven on earth is a reality. When you think to yourself, I want to curl my hair, and you curl it. Mind over matter. And when you say, I want to straighten my hair, so you straighten it. You straighten it with a hot iron. You know, you get the point. You straighten it. You pull it back like so, and you tighten it. You pull it tight, right? And you make it not curly anymore. I want to be bronze today. So you go and get some bronzer if you're a female, and you bronze your cheeks, and you look like you've been kissed by the sun. And then you say, I want to look more pale today. So you put less rouge on. If you're a man, I want to shave my hair. So you shave it. I want to grow my hair. I want to grow my beard. So you do it. You are the head. Ahead. When we plan a business, let us have a cafe, or a restaurant with the smoke outside. But it's not being done. Here, smokers are going to get upset. Oh, no problem. We're just going to have a deep porch with the smoke outside, and the smokers are going to be sheltered in a deep porch. Wrap around porch, with the kitchen in the middle, and a master menu with 12 sub-menus for the people on the different diets. But it hasn't been done. People don't have sub-menus in their menus. Well, so it's your restaurant. You can do whatever you want. How did Waffle House begin? Didn't somebody sketch how Waffle House was going to look, the building? Really small, the kitchen in the middle, and everybody's going to be served really fast. Really fast. It's going to be open 24/7. So when the truckers come by, want to take a break, it's going to be open 24/7. They had to draw it, and they had to plan a menu. And they did it. Waffle House or McDonald's or whatever it is. So, mind over matter. So I don't want to hear an excuse for, heaven, one day, folks, one day is today. Two become one. The two stone tablets, brother and brother, father Father and Son become one truth inside the ark, the chest in your midst. No more darkness, because the ark is the light in the darkness. We don't need to be talking about one day. One day is today. He is for you, before you. Before means past. It is done. Done is complete. Complete is finished. Finished is the end. The end, period, end of story, beginning of a new. I want you to know that Israel is the children of God. 12 tribes. Yeshua is the high priest, and he is Judah and Joseph simultaneously. And Jerusalem has been chosen, not Satan, as our right hand. This means helper. We are God's helpers, and he is our helper simultaneously. We are in the midst of he's in the midst of us simultaneously. We are free to move about. Where do I want to live? With whom? We have to consider the natives. We cannot be exploiting our own resources to enrich the few, taking away from the people what is rightfully theirs to enrich the few. We need to sit down as nations, people, and talk about these things today. This is how much land we have. This is how many people we have. This is how much room we have for certain people. And nation by nation by nation. But we need social engineers to go to these nations that are needing so desperately your help, to help them to rebuild. The ruins that our wars have caused. Venezuela, Haiti, Yemen, Ethiopia, Palestine, all over. We need to help people recover. We don't need to be mass incarcerating people, because that does us no good. If you think that that is the way that you can create more space through mass incarceration, you're highly mistaken. The best way to best utilize the space that you do have is by educating people on how to properly organize their space, their homes, their cities, their nations, earth, home, for us to live in peace with God in our midst. Return, and it will be returned to you. You have everything built in you, the kingdom of God, the truth, the spirit, the glory, the light, the fire is within you. You know what to do. Without war, without cheating and stealing and lying, it can be done. With God, we will do it right. Israel, people of God,